Hey, everybody. We are so excited to have you here with us today. I'm going to ask Stephanie a question to get us started. Are you ready, Stephanie? Let's dive in.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay, great. So, I'm curious if you can reflect on how you can connect with your innate sense of rhythm when you're learning musical rhythms. Um, it's a tough thing. What are your thoughts?
Ooh, that's a great question. How do I connect to my innate sense of rhythm? Movement. Movement is the way that I connect to my innate sense of rhythm. So for me, I really try to look at rhythm like I'm interpreting a movement rather than trying to calculate out something mathematical. So I think the best way that I try to connect to my innate sense of rhythm is to just kind of get more in my body, if that makes sense. So, for instance, crawling on the floor, I may have mentioned this in one of the classes. Crawling like a baby on the floor is the first way that as humans we experience rhythm, because if you watch a baby crawling, you'll see how coordinated their movements are and how they tend to move with a relatively steady beat, which is really interesting to watch. And I love the book A Soprano on Her Head by Eloise Ristat. And she talks about all of these different ways that you can help musicians overcome a hurdle or a blockage or a plateau. And there are all these really like out sort of ways of thinking about them. One of which is putting a soprano on her head so she can hit a certain pitch, which is why the book is called that. And she also discusses crawling. If somebody is struggling with a rhythm, crawling on the floor and just feeling your body in movement. So I still try to do that. I still try to get up and just like, I know it's kind of a weird image, but if you can get on the floor and move and just connect to your innate sense of rhythm that way, that's a great way just to kind of get in touch with what's happening in your body and to just become more in tune with the bigger picture of rhythm and just tandeming, like kind of coming off of that as well, saying, laying on the floor, closing your eyes, and trying to feel your heart beating, the blood running through your veins, this innate sort of sense of rhythm that's happening inside of your body first, and then listening outside and noticing the rhythm of the earth and all of that. So that's kind of more like, I don't know what the word would be, more conceptual. But I think that starting with that as my definition of rhythm and as my sense of rhythm makes calculating out rhythm on the page a lot more approachable because I feel like it's already a part of me. So when I actually go to the page itself, I try to stay standing and walk the beat and then just try to clap out the rhythm with numbers or words that resonate with the rhythmic value that I am trying to figure out. And regardless, I'm always trying to keep moving. So if that means like I'm standing up and walking the beat, the steady beat, and then trying to fit the subdivisions within that beat, that's a great way that I can feel like a rhythm is more approachable. So it's a two-step process, but I think number one is trying to get in touch with my own rhythm in my body, get in touch with the rhythm of the earth, and then looking at something more literal and saying, okay, I'm going to still step that steady beat and try to see if I can fit in the rhythms that I'm seeing with the steady beat I'm walking by adding, subdivisions or words that are associated with different rhythmic values. Like in our classes, we talk about the word walk for quarter notes and running for eighth notes. And so finding words that kind of resonate with the rhythm that you're trying to create so that you're connecting it to the language you already speak. That's another way to maybe approach it as well that I try to find. So I just try to remember that rhythm is in all of us and it's something we're all capable of. And we have different types and senses of rhythm. But even just getting on the floor and crawling can help you really get back in touch with that. So, yeah. What about you, Ashley? How do you get in touch with your innate sense of rhythm?
Yes, I am happy to answer this question. And I really was excited to ask you the question because I love your take on rhythm and I love what you do with rhythm. And just for those of you that don't know, Stephanie and I teach a lot together. We teach, all of the Connection Experiment group courses together. And I love watching Stephanie teach rhythm. I always learn and I always feel like I get better with rhythm when you teach rhythm. So anyway, I was excited to hear your answer because I was hoping you would bring up the things that you did. So rhythm for me was not something that I felt naturally good at, quote unquote, from an early age. I always felt like I felt really disconnected to rhythm. So for me, the way that I get in touch with my innate sense of rhythm actually comes a little more externally. I do have the ability to like tune into my heartbeat and to tune into the rhythm of the world. And like, I love sitting, at the coast and like listening to the ocean waves and feeling the rhythm of that. But that to me has been secondary because I think I couldn't feel that for a really, really, really long time. And so taking an external approach has been helpful for me along my journey, which is really, just practicing feeling an external pulse and then finding that pulse internally and then finding that pulse in other areas. So I know I've talked about this a lot, in teaching, and you've heard this, Stephanie, but just like turning on the metronome and clapping along with it and feeling what it's like to keep a steady beat. I feel like I would love to go back to school and do like a whole PhD just in rhythm because I now geek out on it. I think because it was something that I struggled with so much, but I find it fascinating, like this idea of internal versus external. And I think a lot of the times people get stuck thinking that rhythm is external, like turning on the metronome and then like waiting for the metronome to guide them and waiting for the metronome to like be that steady rhythm, when really the metronome is a tool to help us internalize a steady beat and to help us create one. And so I do think that it's so important to get in touch with our innate sense of rhythm, whether it feels innate or not, and to be able to internally feel it and then externally produce it. A lot of problems stem from a lack of rhythm. And I think, especially with adult learners, so many things stem from just like, unstable rhythm. One of the other things that I talk about a lot is how even if you're a beginner or maybe you're not, playing music at all right now, but you're a music appreciator, you will feel if the rhythm of a piece is off, regardless of if you have the language to express, like, oh, that didn't feel in time, or that felt like you rushed, or you were getting too fast, or da-da-da. Regardless of if you have that language or not, if you've ever sat in a chair and listened to music and thought, this is uncomfortable, like something about this is disorganized or scattered, or it's like, I can't feel it, I don't want to listen to this anymore. It's probably because someone was really off with their rhythm. And so I think that's so interesting how like we can internally feel when it's off, right? Because we have, even if we think about our heartbeat, we have an innate rhythm inside of us constantly from the moment that we're born. Whether or not we can tune into it or produce it or whatever, that's a different story, but we do have it there. And so I think even subconsciously we know what rhythm is and we know what a steady beat is. So anyway, I hope that wasn't too like meandering and that actually made any sort of sense at all. But those are my thoughts. I guess, externally turning on the metronome and really like teaching yourself how to keep a steady beat. That was the way that I did it. And that's the way that I help a lot of students do it as well. And I think combining that with what you said, Stephanie, can be, really great. Like we should probably have people crawl to the beat of the metronome.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Just to help bridge the gap.
Definitely. I think that if we can approach it with both sides of the coin, then all of a sudden rhythm can be not abstract and also not impossible. It's like, kind of combining two superpowers together. So I love that. And I hope you get it. Would you ever get a PhD in rhythm? That sounds...
I don't even know if that's a thing you can do. But if I were to ever go back to school, I would probably do something having to do with, well, I have a lot of interests now, but rhythm would be high up on the list.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That'd be so fun.
Yeah. But anyway, I think you're right. Yeah. A holistic approach of like, regardless of what your issues are with rhythm, if you feel strong, if you don't feel strong, it might not be like one thing that helps you connect with that innate sense of rhythm, but keep trying, because the thing I do know for sure is that I have yet to meet someone that can't develop a good sense of rhythm or that can't like get in touch with that innate sense of rhythm. It's possible. I've never met someone that can't do it. It might take a little time. It might take a little bit of experimenting and of us like troubleshooting what works and what doesn't work and all of that, but it's totally possible for every single person.
Amen. I so agree. Yeah, I love this topic, and I think that it's great to hear your thoughts. I always learn from you too, and I'm always learning as well with rhythm. So maybe we should find like a really awesome like rhythm course to take, and we can like geek out on complex rhythms just to...
That's a good idea.
I came across this rhythm when I was teaching a student a couple weeks ago, And yeah, I texted you and I like looked at it and it was just like this insane rhythm where it was like the notes didn't fit into the beat. And I'm like, okay, I think I've seen this rhythm before, but I just couldn't for the life of me figure it out. And yeah, I just had to tell my student, I am just we're gonna have to put this on the back burner for just a minute because I'm gonna have to sit with this and figure it out. So, I mean, I still obviously find lots of challenges with rhythm myself. And I think just admitting that's fine. That's just the process. And I think that if we're not being challenged, then we're not growing, and that's boring.
Totally.
So, yeah.
So boring.
Exactly.
And it's exciting. I mean, it takes some of the pressure off, for me at least, when, with everything in music, but, we're talking about rhythm here specifically, when I can think like, I'll never know it all. I'm never going to know everything, and that gives permission to not know everything. And to, recognize that like at any point, if you come across something that's giving you trouble rhythmically, like it's just a part of the journey. Like you said, we just have to take that time to figure it out, but it can be figured out, and it doesn't mean anything about us as learners. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a part of the process. So
exactly.
Anyhow.
I love that.
Yeah, I'd love to know from the listeners, like, what do you feel like you have an innate sense of rhythm? Do you feel like it's in there? Do you feel like you've really had to work for it? What are your strengths and struggles? You could share with us, find us on social media and share with us, or email us. We would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. We are very grateful to all of you. We love you. Have a great week.
Bye, everyone.